Alright, gentlemen, welcome back to Badass Lessons from History, and today we will talk again about the Macedonian Empire, but specifically the Macedonian Phalanx and what we can learn from this. I found a special lesson from the Macedonian Phalanx that no one seems to point it out, no one seems to care about it. Because the history behind the Macedonian Phalanx is truly bizarre, and I can show you why it became so successful. Right, so just a short recap for the Macedonian Empire. Right, the Macedonian Empire was seen as barbarians from the Greeks. The Greeks despised them, so they started very small and then they started growing and expanding slowly. The first pioneers are Amyntas the first and Alexander. They expanded it like crazy, but then the greatest revolutionary changes came from Philip II right here. Right? It was at this time he started revolutionizing the Macedonian Phalanx and turned it into a deadly war formation. Right? They grew so big and took advantage of the Peloponnesian Wars, which the wars happened between the sides of Sparta and the sides of Athens, and the Macedonian took advantage of them, and boom, they all submitted under Macedonia. And then the rest is history, where they start conquering lands. Boom, they got the Persian, they got the Achaemenid Empire, and boom, the largest empire the world has ever seen to this day. And then this is when the Roman army come and boom, fuck up all their entire potential career future. And as you can see here, this is the large empire of Alexander the Great, stretching from Macedonia all the way to Gandhara in the Himalayas. So what is it about this Macedonian Phalanx that we fail to see, right? What's the thing that most historians want to point out? Right, so before getting into that, let me explain to you who is the founder of the Macedonian Phalanx. Boom. But you already know who actually, right? I already spoiled it just now. It is Philip II. And as we know, Philip II, he is the actual badass of the empire of the Macedonian. Too little credit being given to him. In fact, most people say he is supposed to be at the same level as Alexander the Great, because he sets the foundation for Alexander the Great to be great. Alright, so let's cut off that bullshit first. Now let's go into Philip II and how he developed the idea of the Macedonian Phalanx. So as we all know that Philip II, he started as a hostage in Thebes. So he learned a lot from the wars that are happening in Thebes, right? Especially the gay people at Sacred Band of Thebes. They were gay actually. Alright, so Philip II mingled around with a lot of Thebes people and the armies, and he noticed one thing about the Sacred Band of Thebes is that they had a long ass spears or sarissa. So if you couldn't see, it's this thing right here, right? This thing right here is called the sarissa. But Philip II thought like, hey, what if we could actually extend this thing and make it longer? So that comes the idea of the long ass sarissa. And then after getting out of Thebes, Philip II also spent some time in the Illyriad, right? And it was at Illyriad he saw there are some people who have very small armor and small shield, so they also move very fast. So Philip II think of combining these two and making a formation. But the problem is that if you would have a long ass sarissa and a small shield, then your defense might be very poor, because people can just come in and attack you from the left or from the right, or they could come and flank you out. So that's one of the problems with the small shields and the long ass sarissa. But with some brainstorming, this is what Philip II came up with. right? The Macedonian Phalanx with, yeah, they had smaller shields, but they are compact into a formation where everyone is super close with each other, right? And they had their long sarissa, which is like 4 to 6 meters, right? It's like 4 to 6 meters. So even the horse coming in, right? Let's say there's a horse right here. You couldn't even pass right here. You couldn't even jump. You could get death, right? You could die instantly if they try to attack from the front. It's almost impossible to attack this formation and not getting killed. So unlike the Spartans, you see the Spartan warriors, right, where they are in a formation where they are close, but not as close as the Macedonian Phalanx, and they have a huge shield. But the Macedonian Phalanx people, you see, they have shields strapped to their arms, and they were smaller shields. But the main defense actually come from the sarissa and the close formation, so people couldn't attack from right here and right here, because the defense using the sarissa is super powerful and important, and people cannot just come and jump in right here trying to attack. No, you're not. That's what makes this Macedonian Phalanx so powerful, and it's almost impossible to penetrate it from the front. And also, if the sarissa broken, right? If this sarissa gets broken, it can be turned into a secondary weapon where you just have to turn it around and it becomes a secondary weapon. It's like a shorter spear, just like this. It's not that such a great deal of engineering knowledge right there. All of this becomes history when the Roman Empire comes and wiped their asses off, because the Roman Empire knew what are the weaknesses of these Macedonian Phalanx. They know how to divide them and conquer them. I talk about divide and conquer a lot because it's like the everything of how you do things, right? It's not just apply in wars and history, it applies even in your daily life, right? If you want to get shit done, alright, divide your tasks into small chunks and attack them one by one. But that's another story for another day. You can search for my course about how to become productive even if you're a lazy piece of shit, right? It's always available on my YouTube channel, so you can check that out. Boom. Alright, so I hope by now you get the lesson that what is the so-called deep lesson right here. So for most of us, we are too scared. We are too scared of taking risks. We are too scared of doing something new, right? We don't want to take the risk because what happens is that we may fail. Yes, even if you may fail a lot, but if you succeed, alright, if you succeed, the reward will be so good. That's what happens with the Macedonian army, right? They risk themselves with this stupid formation. Like they seem stupid, right? Because they had smaller shields and they are very close together. Of course, it doesn't work in the modern world, but it's with this idea of risking yourself with something new and innovative and creativity that you actually have a high reward. And people are too afraid to do some researches, to try something new, because doing something new may lead to failure. And what happens is they try to copy from other people. Look at this chief here, where Mr. Bean copies from other people just to play safe. But in the end, if you watch this series, Mr. Bean actually copied the wrong answer for the wrong questions, right? So he actually failed the exam. A lot of people they don't want to be different, so they just ride the trend wave of what's happening. Oh, people are wearing this, so I better wear that. People are doing this, so I better do that. Or people are making this, so I better make that also. I want the same answer as other people, so I will be safe. So that's the thinking process of most people. And of course, going your own way, making a new path where that is much more innovative and creative, is high risk, but it's also come with a high reward. And Philip II at that time, he had a lot of crises, alright? He risked this formation that he don't know if it would be done. right? Because if this formation failed, then the whole empire is probably gonna go down, because at that time the Macedonian Empire was already super shit, right? They had a lot of internal crises and wars going around surrounding Macedonia. But good thing is this formation actually did well, right? And I'm not telling you to just go and do stupid stuff, super high risk, right? Take risk, but make sure it's calculated, all right? Understand the risk to benefit ratio, right? If the risk is too high, like you're gonna die from it or something, that better not. So the Macedonian Phalanx, we all know it wasn't perfect, all right? Because the Romans know how to spread and flank them. But the main takeaway here is that don't stay with the same old traditional rules, right? You got to learn to be creative and innovative, right? Learn to be creative and innovative. And the reason I put this guy with a field kick right here, because most martial arts today, right? People love martial arts, right? I love martial arts. People love martial arts, but they get too caught up with the same old movements that are too predictable, and when you try to fight someone, they already knew your steps and moves like that. So it's not going to hurt if you try some new formation or style which people cannot predict. It can actually save your ass from getting whipped. Like, for example, the way in my country there's a martial art called silat, which is kinda outdated in many ways, but there are some people who are taking initiatives to improvise them, but many people see them as not as a good thing, which I think is stupid. Why you don't want to evolutionize yourself, be more creative and innovative with things, right? Because things die out, right? Ideas die out. Modern things, revolutionaries died out, and everything dies out. You and me are gonna die out. So better come up with something new to prevent those things from dying out. Don't be afraid to be creative and make innovative designs. Don't be afraid to do more research and development of how, not just when it comes to fighting, but how you do how you do anything in your life, like how you study, how you eat, how you move, and how you drive, or anything, basically anything at all, right? So what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below, and take care and be a fucking rock.